Hello and welcome back to Travis Talks Comics. Today I am starting a new series called the Comic Log. Pretty much all the books that I'm currently reading, and I just want to talk about them. I used to do it on my podcast, but I think it's better if we keep the podcast mostly about gaming and then some entertainment stuff that me and Damien both like. But Damien has not diving into comic books like I have. I'm still trying, guys. But so I have been getting super duper into comic books. So this is pretty much everything from January, February, and then March. I will do this on a monthly basis because I have a lot of books here. So I don't want to do this every 3 months. I thought about doing it like that, but I think every month might be a little bit better. So the way I have this video broken down is that we're going to do Marvel, then DC, and then Indies, aka IDW, Image, whatever else, other stuff. It's mostly a bunch of licensed books because I'm just that kind of guy when it comes to my indies. I definitely need to read actual indie comics more, but that's something that I will definitely get into later this year. So let's just start with Marvel, starting with the big heading sort of title that happened within the past 3 months, which is Ultimate Spider-Man issue 24 is now ended. I know some other stuff happened within Ultimate Endgame regarding Ultimate Spider-Man. I'm gonna just keep this head canon of like this ending. That is where Ultimate Spider-Man ended, and then there's that. So yeah, I mean, this series has been pretty contentious if you really ask among Spider-Man fans, because this series started off so strong, and alongside with the absolute titles, it was like, yeah, like comic books are so much fun. There's so many weird and interesting things happening with the big two. And then Ultimate sort of teetered off a little bit, especially with Ultimate Spider-Man, because out of the 24 issues, a lot of them don't focus on Peter and Spider-Man. Some of them focus on the other characters like Green Goblin, Mysterio, etc. So, you know, I think if this run was a little bit longer, I think issues like that would definitely be appropriate. But because we didn't have so much time with Peter and Spider-Man, people just felt a little bit chipped out. Regardless, the run is amazing, still fantastic. I love Marco Checchetto and Jonathan Hickman. You know, I don't read a lot of his work, but I think that he did a pretty good job setting the base for this story. But I think as it went on, he definitely was getting lost in the sauce, and he definitely needed more issues to possibly tell his full story. Apparently, he did know that it was going to be 24 issues, so I'm not exactly sure why he focused so much time on the side characters. Not that it was necessarily bad, but I do wish that it was a little bit more focused on Peter and him being Spider-Man, and sort of how that plays out in him taking on the mantle after so long and so many years, because now he has a wife, he has kids. I think that that's something that people have wanted for years. And yeah, it sucks that this ended. I do wish that there was more of it, but maybe later on Marvel could do this story again with Peter as a full-fledged adult with kids, with MJ as his wife. But so far this is the only big mainstay comic, and I don't read Amazing Spider-Man because it's always such a goddamn mess. It's definitely not worth it. The other book I have been reading on a monthly basis from Marvel is Captain America by Chip Zdarsky. Zdarsky is one of my favorite comic book writers, period, just because I love his run on Daredevil. So the fact that he came back to Marvel to do an ongoing for Captain America, I was like, yep, that's great, that's awesome, that's amazing. And the fact that he is in charge of like the Armageddon stuff is even better. I don't read a lot of Wolverine, if any at all, so the fact that this is leading up to Armageddon, I was like, okay, that's interesting. It does have a character from the Captain America book that appears in here, so it does sort of play hand in hand. But so far with the mainline Captain America book, I'm liking it. I don't read any Captain America. This is like my first time ever reading a Captain America comic book with Steve Rogers in it. I did read the first volume with Sam Wilson, kind of dropped it after that, even though I have the rest of those volumes. Anyways, but yeah, so far so good. I really like Chip's writing and sort of his characterization of Steve Rogers coming out of the ice into this new world, into this version of the Marvel universe. And like I said, with Wolverine, Weapons of Armageddon, kind of got ahead of myself, but I am talking about Zdarsky because he is writing this as well. He still has such an amazing writing style, even when it comes to a character like Logan. A random pickup that I did was the Punisher series that is now serializing. I think it's only going up to 5 or 6 issues or something like that. Anyways, so one of my local shops that I go to every now and then, Golden Memories, that shop does a sale where you buy 5 comics, you get 2 free. So obviously, if I'm buying like 3, I'm like, well, I might as well try to figure out what the other 4 are, right? You know, just to go and get that nice 7. So I saw this and I was like, yeah, I should probably check it out. I like the Punisher. I like John Bernthal's rendition of the character. I've never read a Punisher comic. I definitely want to get into them. I've done a lot of research and sort of looking around. Probably whenever I resubscribe to Marvel Unlimited, I will do that. But I decided to get this first issue as like one of my free comics, if you will. And it was not that bad. I was definitely going to leave it at that and then just buy the trade when it came out. But I was looking through the variant covers and I saw this Simone Di Meo cover. I just love the way that he draws these characters. And I was like, yeah, this cover is awesome. Normally, when I'm collecting a series in general, I always get the A cover. And then if there is a variant cover like this one, I will get it. But just to save my wallet a little bit, I just got the variant cover for issue 2. Yeah, it's a very interesting story in terms of like Frank not having full control of his body and sort of how they're playing that out. Like I said, never read a Punisher comic, so I don't know any of like the baggage that comes with this, but it's still a very interesting and cool version of the character that I am following. We got some Daredevil books here because Daredevil, like I said, with Zdarsky, he's my favorite comic book writer, and his version of Daredevil really got me into the medium again. So I have a couple of Daredevil comics here. First up, we have is Black Cat issue 6. Literally bought this just because it has Daredevil in it. This felt like the episode of She-Hulk. It's very laid back, whimsical, kind of funny, kind of comedic, just with Black Cat in it. Daredevil's not in it for a lot of the book. It's mostly with Matt Murdock, but still, regardless, a fun issue that I think if you like Daredevil and you want to see him appear in another character's book, this one is definitely fun to check out. Speaking of, we got It's Jeff meets Daredevil. If you don't know what the It's Jeff series is, it's pretty much just a bunch of, there's no words, but there's still a story going on. So it's all just pictures and you get to follow the story like that. One of the stories in here is with Daredevil. It's not all of them. There's like multiple stories in here. It's fun. It's cute. I literally got it just because it has Daredevil on it. I also got the Punisher variant that I have in my short box in the other room. But yeah, you know, it's a fun little story if you like Daredevil and you like Jet the Shark, can't go wrong with it. Obviously, Jeff is like such a cute and marketable character. It's kind of hard to not put him everywhere. Then I finally read Daredevil, The Man Without Fear, one of Frank Miller's famous books. And yeah, you know, I was just craving some like actual like Daredevil material and not like those 2 one-shots. Not to say that those are bad, but I wanted to read something that I haven't read yet from the Daredevil mythos because I've read a lot of like the ongoing stuff. So yeah, this book, very, very good. One of the best ways to understand Matt's backstory. There's definitely a lot of things different that they did from adapting this into the Netflix series, but it's very cool as someone like me who is a huge fan of that show and I'm enjoying Born Again Season 2 so far. I will definitely talk about it on this channel whenever that season concludes. But yeah, really enjoyed this backstory and sort of how they interpreted Matt becoming Daredevil. Okay, now we're going to get into the DC side of things. First up, we obviously have to talk about the Superman Spider-Man DC collaboration. You know, last year we had Batman Deadpool, now we have Superman Spider-Man, and yeah, this issue is great. There's so many fun stories in here that's outside of the Mark Waid and Jorge Jimenez main story with Superman and Spider-Man. That story is obviously like fantastic, 10 out of 10. Jorge's drawings are just straight peak. I just love whenever he gets to draw the interiors of a book, and it kind of hurts me personally because I'm not reading the Matt Fraction Batman series. I have the trade pre-ordered and I'm gonna try to read it through trade because I have so much stuff on my pull list, and I already have a Batman series that is Absolute Batman, which I will talk about later. But yeah, with this, great, fantastic. Like I said, the other stories in here are also pretty fun. There's one in here with Jimmy Olsen and Carnage. It's a very quick, fun, silly story. I think a lot of people will like it if you haven't read it already. But yeah, go to your local comic shop, check this book out. I don't know if they're ever going to do a collected edition with all of the Marvel and DC stuff. If they do, I will definitely pick that up because I think that is definitely going to be a nice way to reread all of the DC Marvel collaborations. Next book we got here is Nightwing. So Nightwing is another DC character that I recently got into because, you know, he's kind of similar to Daredevil in terms of like the street level stuff, but definitely very different like character personality wise. So I read the Tom Taylor version of Nightwing, and then I waited a little bit before getting into Dan Watters. This is the first issue of like a new sort of arc that they're doing here, and Dan Watters continues to hit with the writing. I love the way that he writes Dick Grayson. It is a lot of fun, very much in tune with the version that I learned with Tom Taylor. And this new arc seems pretty interesting. There's always some new bullshit happening within Bloodhaven, and Nightwing just has to be the one to stop it. So yeah, still a fun, fantastic book. Really, really enjoying that one. Next one we got here. This is pretty much what got me back into DC Comics. It is Batman Superman World's Finest. I have been enjoying reading this month to month ever since I got into it. I think it was the Aquaman arc that I was like in the middle of when I first started pulling this series month to month. And then we had that event book, and I was like, I really don't like event crossover books, especially when I have to buy another series to like understand the full story, because it just gets messy. It just gets convoluted for me personally. And then when we got back into it, you know, the stories were kind of hit or miss, mostly misses in my opinion. And like I even said to myself, I was like, maybe I should drop this. But this arc here with like an evil version of Superman and Batman, the first issue was so interesting. Issue 48, I was like, wow, this is so freaking cool. Like I love where they're going with this. And then they end it here, and I'm sure they're gonna pick it back up because next issue is issue 50, and then apparently they have some crazy stuff planned for that one. But here they kind of just end it, and I was just like, I don't really like that, you know, like as much as I love that this book really got me back into DC Comics and just reading modern comics in general, this series has not been living up to my personal expectations in a while, and I hope that Mark Waid is able to pick it back up, because the drawings on here, like even though Dan Mora isn't on the book anymore, it still looks amazing. I forget what the new artist's name is, but still, he does a fantastic, amazing job. But yeah, I just hope that it gets better, because I might drop it soon. I don't know, because, you know, I'm just not feeling it. This one shot took a lot of people by storm, and I bought this at Golden Memory Comics when I got the Punisher issue, because this was like the main book that I was there for. It is the new history of the DC Universe, the Dakota Incident, and there is a second printing coming out very, very soon, and it's going to have Static on the front, drawn by Dan Mora. I might pick that up. I'm not entirely sure yet, but yeah, I managed to go and get myself a first printing of it, and yeah, this is a great one-shot. This is pretty much the way that, I forget what these characters' names are, the freaking Static characters, I forget, but it's pretty much how they got into the DC Universe. The Milestone characters. But yeah, this issue was very, very good. It pretty much brings you up to speed in terms of who these characters are and how they're brought into the DC Universe. And hopefully we're able to see them in new ongoings, new series. I don't know yet. But yeah, very, very cool one-shot to celebrate Black History Month. And then we got the big hitter, Absolute Batman. So I made a whole video of me just talking about why I decided to pick up Absolute Batman month to month. It's mostly because of this issue, or this trade paperback, I should say. Them introducing Bane is like so freaking crazy and insane. I'm surprised that I didn't get spoiled for like a lot of stuff that was in this issue and then the stuff that happens afterwards, because the Poison Ivy arc is pretty damn dope. I really like the way that they brought her into the story and the way that it ended. I'm so interested, so curious to see where this version of Batman goes from here on out. Scott Snyder is, once again, a genius. He is amazing. Definitely the best writer for Batman right now. And yeah, so excited to see where this goes. And then the last DC book we got here, I just decided to read this randomly because I was like, I have this on my shelf. I might as well read it. I got this before my local comic book store closed down, so I got this on like a pretty deep discount. Batgirl Year One. So I don't know much about Batgirl outside of her outings within the Nightwing book, and I was like, I want to learn more about her. So I saw this there, and I was like, let me just go and pick it up, because I think it was like 30 or 40% off, so it was definitely less than $20 cover price. And yeah, I didn't know much about Chuck Dixon or whatever. Apparently he is a problematic character within the comics industry now, but anyways, I can't deny that this that this was a very, very good and fun read. It really did bring me up to speed in terms of like who Batgirl is and what this version of the character is like. You know, she didn't come up with Batman in sort of the same way that Robin did. She very much was on her own. She is freaking Gordon's daughter, so you know she has to work around that and sort of prove herself as, you know, a vigilante. So it's very, very cool. I definitely had a lot of fun with this. I did not realize that it was 9 issues in total, but I definitely blitzed through this one. This was a lot of fun to read, and I think if you are someone like me that doesn't know a whole lot about Batgirl, I think that this is a very nice introduction for the character, especially since it's kind of self-contained. It definitely has the visuals of like the Batman animated series and whatnot, but yeah, still overall pretty damn good. All right, now we got my indie books. There's going to be a lot of Ninja Turtles at the end, so just fair warning. So first up, Sonic the Hedgehog. Obviously, my name is TV Sonic on my main channel, but, you know, Sonic the Hedgehog is like one of my favorite things, and this is like the one book that I've been keeping up with ever since it started, because when IDW was making the new Sonic stuff, I was like, I got to get on that. So I have pretty much every single issue of the Sonic IDW series, and I really like where they're going with this new story. With, I forget her name, and I also forget her name right now. They're like blanking on me. But I really, really do like that, you know, these books are very much like, the stakes are there, but they're not like insane, because, you know, it's still a Sonic book. It's still made for like kids in general, but as a Sonic fan, I'm really enjoying it. And yeah, and then we have the one shot of the Sonic Racing Cross Worlds issue, a nice little fun video game tie-in issue, nothing crazy, nothing extravagant, but, you know, still really, really enjoyed the way that they write these characters and sort of write their adventures. Next one we got here is Mega Man Legends timeline. So I think that Udon has been doing a lot of these like Mega Man timelines of like various versions of Mega Man and sort of checking in on like whatever adventures that they're going towards. It's nothing exactly going to anywhere. Like they're just like one-shot issues. It's not for like a serializing series. I think maybe they're leading up to like a big Mega Man sort of crossover thing. I have no idea. I got the first one, which was just classic Mega Man, and then I got this one because Mega Man Legends is pretty cool in terms of like aesthetics and like sort of like the story that goes with it. Even though I have never played Mega Man Legends, I think that, you know, the hair, the sort of visuals that comes with the series is dope, and the issue itself is pretty fun. All right, so we got some Invincible books here. So I will talk about the Invincible 1 reprint. This was reprinted in the style of the show, and it's also like a foil. So yeah, you know, I have not read the Invincible comics, but after reading this one, I was like, I should get the compendiums. But I stopped myself. Because I really like reading Ninja Turtles right now, and I don't want to give myself too many books to read. So, you know, this was definitely the first issue, obviously. So it was a nice little sampler of what I'm going to get myself into when I do read the Invincible books, because I love the show. The show is so freaking good. I love Stephen Young. I love J.K. Simmons. That entire cast is just insane, and the way that the show is produced is very, very high quality, and I love that it's a second chance for Robert Kirkman to just go over the Invincible series and just touch it up a bit, you know, make it more modernized, maybe change some things up that were in the book, so then maybe he takes them out or he adjusts them, whatever he needs to do as like an artist. And, you know, I love that for him. So I definitely want to go back and read the original Invincible run after checking out this new 2026 reprint. And obviously the other one that happened is the Marvel Team Up reprint with Spider-Man. We have the Todd McFarlane variant here. If you watch my short that is on my channel where I talk about, they actually changed the writing of this book to have, I think it's like Amazon Prime placement in there. It's so weird. I think the reason why they did it was because they were afraid people wouldn't know what Blockbuster is. But I think if you're reading this book, you should at least be old enough to know what Blockbuster is. Anyways, you know, it was definitely weird that they changed the writing because of that, just to like modernize it or whatever, because like it's a reprint. You should just like keep the writing the way it is. Anyways, so yeah, I got the Todd McFarlane variant because I came to learn that, yeah, like he drew Spider-Man all of those years ago, but he hasn't drawn Spider-Man since he left Marvel. And the fact that he drew the character again on this cover is pretty damn cool. So I was like, you know what, after hearing that and like learning and like educating myself on like the history of Todd and like him going and making Image Comics and all of that other stuff, I was like, okay, I gotta go and get this variant cover. But anyways, the issue itself is a lot of fun. You know, as someone who watches the Invincible show, you know, seeing that little snippet of, you know, like the Spider-Man universe, but not Spider-Man with sort of Josh Keaton in there, I was like, you know what, that was pretty cool. That was pretty neat. But yeah, just seeing the issue itself and sort of exploring the world of like Marvel through Mark's eyes was pretty fun. Okay, so before we get into the Ninja Turtle stuff, we got two more things of indie books. So first up, Kick-Ass. I love the Kick-Ass movie. I definitely watched it when I was too young back in the day. I was definitely too young to watch that movie, but still, it was a great, fantastic superhero film. I think if I were to put it on today, it would still be a great time. So that's how I know the Kick-Ass series, and I've had these the Dave Lewinsky year books for like a while. I bought them at Right Stuff Anime when they were still Right Stuff Anime years ago, before they got bought out by Crunchyroll, because these were like less than $10 a piece, I want to say. So, you know, and because I'm on like this sort of comic book high again, I'm like, you know what, let me go and finally read Kick-Ass, because I've been meaning to do that for a while. And despite me knowing what happens based on the movie, this book does it very, very different. And I'm glad when they adapted the movie, they changed stuff. So for people like me who want to go back and read the book, there's still some surprises in there and still some revelations that, you know, I might not have seen or whatever. So yeah, definitely like it. The writing has not aged the best. There's a lot of things that they say in here that are not okay to say today. It's very derogatory and not friendly for, you know, a lot of different groups. It's kind of racist. I'm not gonna lie. Like for some reason, like I think there's like in the beginning of like Kick-Ass's backstory, he's like getting jumped by like a bunch of gang members or whatever, and like for some reason we have to point out that it's like a bunch of Puerto Ricans or whatever, and I'm like, why do we need to say that? Like that just doesn't enhance the story or like add anything. It just brings out their race for like no real reason. But anyways, you know, I know Mark Millar is definitely a little weird when it comes to that stuff, I think. I don't know. But yeah, I'm obviously gonna read the rest of it because I bought it years ago and I didn't know exactly the problematic things that might have come with the writer. And, you know, it is what it is. I'm going to just keep reading it because I already have it. Not a problematic writer or creative team, Daniel Warren Johnson's Transformers run. Shout out to Speed Sultan. He is one of the bigger comic book creators on the platform, and he always talks about Daniel Warren Johnson, Daniel Warren Johnson, Daniel Warren Johnson. And Transformers, I have been buying, or now I have all 4 of his run. So I was like, yeah, I should definitely, you know, check it out, try it out. And after finishing volume 2, I definitely need to jump into volume 3. I just don't want to start volume 3 and then when I make this video, I'm like halfway through it or whatever. But yeah, very, very much enjoying it. One thing I don't like about this trade though is that like when you're reading it, there's no like breaks. Like it doesn't show you exactly when like a issue ends. It just goes on. It just keeps going. And like it's nice for the trade, but for me personally, who's like trying to look for like a nice clean break when I'm like reading and like, all right, like I guess I'll just end on like this random page, but I don't know if that's like the end of the issue. And also we don't get like a sort of like cover gallery or anything. So like I don't know what like the main issues of like issues 7 through 12. I don't know what those covers are because it's just not in here. So that's just my little gripe with this trade. But still, the story, the drawings, the colors, everything, it is just very, very good. Even though I don't know much about Transformers, I'm learning a lot more about it with this book. And it's just a very human story, even though we got robots involved, right? Okay, now we got a bunch of Ninja Turtle stuff. So I'm going to be rambling about Ninja Turtles. As a 2003 Ninja Turtles kid, I still love Ninja Turtles. So first up, TMNT Mighty Morphin Power Rangers crossover number 3 has officially ended through its 5 issues. And I kind of regret reading this month to month, to be honest, because it's $5 an issue, I'm pretty sure, $4.99. And a lot of the issues are pretty thick. Like, they are not like sort of, you know, like your standard like $4.99 issue. Like, compared to like Absolute Batman, like that's like a pretty thick issue, and you're gonna get like a full-blown story there. Here, a lot of the issues are kind of like not that thick or like not that big, so I felt like I should have just waited for the trade to come out, especially since because I have the other 2 crossovers on trade, I'm gonna want to get that 3rd one in trade anyway. So, but you know, because I was getting back into comic books, I just put that on my pull list because I was like, I might as well read it, you know, might as well check it out. But still, it's a fun crossover if you like Ninja Turtles, if you like Power Rangers, and you want to see them team up and kick some butt. This is pretty much it. It doesn't really do anything too crazy or anything too sort of catastrophic, because, you know, it is like its own little mini series or whatever, but still, it has great character moments, great drawings, great writing, all that other stuff. So yeah, it's fun. That's all I can really say. TMNT Stranger Things. I bought this, I want to say like 6 months ago or something like that. Because Stranger Things 5 was coming out, I was like, I kind of want to get back into like the Stranger Things mood a little bit. So might as well get it with the Ninja Turtles, right? With like the Ninja Turtles crossover. I like that they kept the red bandanas for them, because this does take place in the 80s and sort of that era. But yeah, I mean, you get to see Ninja Turtles and sort of Stranger Things characters go to New York, get to see them fight Demogorgons and all of this other fun stuff. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I think if you like both IPs, definitely check it out. I think if you like just Stranger Things, you might be weirded out by the Ninja Turtles. I don't know. But you know, I think that if you like both of them, definitely check it out. But I think if you only like one of them, might be a little bit harder of a read, in my opinion. But you know, do what you will. This trade is pretty cheap. It's like sold like almost everywhere for like $10 to $15. And I think the cover price is $20. So, you know, you definitely gonna save yourself a couple bucks if you look on Amazon, Target, whatever. All right, now we got the Ninja Turtles 40th Anniversary Comic Celebration. This is the deluxe edition. So it has, so first up, it's a hardcover, so that's nice. But I think it has pretty much all of these stories in here that are included, and then a bunch of like covers also. So you get to see all of the covers that are available. One of my favorite artists is Kerry Randolph, because he draws the 2003 Turtles in like such like a amazing way. Like, I just love the way that he draws them. It just looks so show accurate that whenever I do see him do like a variant cover for Ninja Turtles, I just have to buy it. But anyways, yeah, this is like a very, very cool celebration of the Turtles and sort of the sort of many different versions of them. As you can see, these are the stories. You got ones featuring the Kevin Eastman era, you got the Urban Legends era, the TMNT Adventures, Saturday morning cartoons, 2003, 2012, etc., etc. So yeah, I mean, if you like Ninja Turtles and you want to see more versions of them in a comic book to celebrate its 40th anniversary, by the way, just check out this hardcover. And once again, this is like a pretty cheap one that you could find out in the wild. Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin 2 Re-Evolution. So I was actually picking this up month to month as it was coming out at my old LCS before they shut down. And I just never read it, just because I think the ending of The Last Ronin, of them setting up like a new generation of 4 turtles, just not my speed, you know? Like, I think The Last Ronin was a nice little like short story that they made to like celebrate and sort of bring back Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird, and just like have like a continuation of the Turtles and sort of what happened with the war versus Shredder, and the fact that there's only one turtle left is such a cool and interesting hook. And then, you know, they're like, all right, now we're gonna have a new generation of turtles with Uno and I don't even know their names, just because it's like, they're not as catchy as like Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, Michelangelo, and also those names have been synonymous with the Turtles brand for over 40 years. So to introduce a new set of them is going to be very hard, very difficult. I think overall the story's fine. It's definitely like a continuation of The Last Ronin, as much as like I said, didn't want that to happen. It was a continuation of it, and I did like where it was going. But I think if they do a third one, they should just end it there, because I'm kind of tired of The Last Ronin, because like I said, I think it was a nice one-off story that they just didn't need to continue after that. But they did here, and it was fine. The last Ninja Turtles book that I read is I started the IDW collection. And shout out to my best friend Jeffrey. He gave me this for my birthday, and as I was going through, there was a Ninja Turtles variant cover that I recently picked up, drawn by Kevin Eastman. It has Raphael and Casey Jones on it, and I started reading that just a little bit, even though it's in like the middle of like an arc, and I was like, I want to read Ninja Turtles comics, and that happened after I read everything that you just saw. So I was like, I actually really do want to read more Ninja Turtles, and I was like, I have these. I have the IDW collection, and I recently just got more of them. So yeah, this first volume, I was literally blitzing through this. There are 12 issues alongside the mini series with Raphael, Michelangelo, Donatello, and Leonardo, and also Master Splinter. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's like 17 issues in here. So yeah, I was straight up like blitzing through this like so freaking fast, because it's such a great version of the Ninja Turtles, even after all of these years. You know, like this, how I would describe this is that like they take everything of like the best parts of the Ninja Turtles that we know and love. Like they know that like Casey Jones is going to be in there, April's going to be in there, obviously Master Splinter is going to be in there alongside the 4 Turtles, and then they take that and then they very carefully like place stuff in and like set things up for like later. So like the way that Raphael and Casey Jones meet each other is such a cool encounter, and like all of the other little things with like Baxter Stockman and even like the Foot and like Shredder and everything. I'm like, I really like the way that they set it up. So I'm excited to see where it goes. The best comparison that I could do is this is kind of like the way that Spider-Man was handled with the Spectacular Spider-Man. Like that show, like they were storyboarding everything out. They were piecing things together. They're like, all right, we're going to introduce Dr. Connors and also Eddie Brock within episode 1 before they turn into Venom and the crocodile or whatever, you know, like they were very intentional with what they were doing. It's the same thing with here. And obviously I think Kevin Eastman was on this alongside writer Tom Waltz. So yeah, really enjoying this. I have a few more volumes that I recently just bought that I could go through those and really enjoy them. And hopefully next month you will hear me talk about at least one more of these, because yeah, if you like Ninja Turtles and you haven't read this series, pick up the IDW collection, because it has everything in chronological order. So like I was talking about with like the Raphael, Michelangelo, Donatello, Leonardo, and Splinter micro series, they splice them in here strategically, so it makes sense for the timeline. So by the time you're done with those, you are back into the main story. Or I think what they did was that like I would read like a few issues of like the main series, and then I jumped into the Raphael micro issue, and then I jumped back into the main series. And then at a certain point I realized once all 4 of those issues were done, they made sense once something popped up in here in terms of like storytelling and all of that other stuff. So yeah, there's other things I could talk about with this series that I will hopefully mention within my next comic log monthly thing, but for now, that is it. So yeah, that is it for today in terms of me talking about comic books, my reading log, if you will, everything that I've been reading within the past 3 months. Next month will definitely be a lot shorter, and I will hopefully have more to say on comic books. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys haven't already, you can subscribe, put new videos out whenever. If you guys want to follow me on social media, I am at TV Sonic Gaming. Also check out my podcast called the Travis and Damien Podcast, about games and pop culture every other week. And yeah, that's all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching this video once again. Now see you guys next time with more videos.